Hey everyone, welcome back to Rise of an Empire, the show where we let a professional sports team dictate our happiness. And today, the Niners drafted Trey Lance. So, Wolf, how we feeling?
I feel amazing. I
Er,
I've made many mocks. I've for about 3 years now. I've been making mock drafts, and I haven't gotten a single one. I haven't gotten a single pick right, not one.
yeah,
And I finally got one right. And this is the most important pick that Kyle
absolutely.
Shanahan and John Lynch have ever had by far. I mean,
Country
it,
mile.
it's yeah, it's one thing to get Solomon Thomas wrong when you're already at 2, traded down to 3. It's one thing to get Trey. It's another thing to get Trey Lance wrong after trading 3 first-round picks to get him. So it's awesome getting this right. I don't want to brag, but man, when I
Go ahead,
found out, I
brag,
knew.
dude. You called it, dude. You did the research.
Yeah,
Right, brag all you want, man. You did the research. You did the film analysis. Seriously, I
I
mean,
have
you
a
killed
YouTube
it.
channel. I mean, no, not a YouTube channel. I have a YouTube playlist on my phone, on my personal YouTube account. That's literally titled Lance at 3, and it has film from Trey Lance's college, just college tape,
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins' college tape. It has Wilton Spate's college tape, et cetera, et cetera. Everyone I mentioned in the last video. But man, I was looking at it at 1 a.m. because I was so convinced. I was just Justin Fields is the best pick. It makes no sense to look at any other player. Fields or bust. We riot in SF.
Mhm.
And then I was just okay. There are a few people who still talk about Trey Lance. I'm going to give him one more chance at 1 a.m.
Yeah.
like 3 weeks ago on some Wednesday. And
Mhm.
oh my, it just hit. It just made sense. I am thoroughly convinced that he was the pick all along. I don't think that
Yeah.
it was ever Mac Jones, and they kind of confirmed that in today's press conference, saying,
Mhm.
"Oh, we weren't going to confirm or deny the Mac Jones stuff. We were just, going to let it happen because we mostly wanted to test our front office, which is another thing. I'll let you get that part. But man, I think Trey Lance was just this. He's the perfect scheme fit while also providing that upside that we so desperately need at the quarterback position. And I'm just excited to see a QB power instead of the usual, goal line runs and shovel passes to George Kittle. It'll be nice to see some run plays for the quarterback. But anyways, what do you think this first round? I mean, this is the best kept secret, I think, in NFL draft history. I mean,
Yeah.
this is insane.
I mean, like everything from left and right. Everyone's saying Mac Jones, Peter King, Mac Jones, Peter Schrager, Mac Jones, Chris Sims, Mac Jones. Mac Jones is Adam Schefter. Everything coming from everywhere. Mac Jones, Trey Lance. And like seriously, I haven't watched all the press conference stuff yet, and I'm sure more information is going to come out in the next couple days. But it sounds like the entire time it was Trey Lance, and I love it. I absolutely love it. Not only because I like Trey Lance and think he's a very, very talented prospect, not necessarily my favorite prospect. I don't think he was the best prospect.
Mm-hmm.
I obviously love Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, obviously. Um, but he easily has a huge upside. And I don't care if you don't like Trey Lance, you can't watch him and say, yeah, that dude has no talent whatsoever. He is mega skilled. And as you alluded to, this front office kept this secret under wraps unbelievably well. I mean, unbelievably well. Like, I think this could be wrong, but I think I heard something like Kyle Shanahan saying how like the Mac Jones rumor kind of just created itself and they kind of ran with it.
Yeah,
I
that's what he
completely
said in
believe
his
that. I
presser.
completely believe that. This was, and I tweeted this out, this was one of the best smoke screens of all time. One of the greatest smoke screens ever. Because nobody saw this coming. Like everyone kind of thought, yeah, it could be Trey Lance, but everyone was like, yeah, it's going to be Mac Jones because I don't know. That's just Kyle Shanahan's style. He loves Kirk Cousins. He had Matt Schaub as his quarterback. He had Jimmy Garoppolo as his quarterback. And I love this from Kyle Shanahan's perspective because it shows that he is willing to evolve as a coach. And he's not just going to handcuff himself to a limited pocket passer who, with no mobility whatsoever, an average arm. No, he's willing to go that extra mile. He's willing to evolve and go with a mobile, athletic, huge arm, just freak show player and prospect like a Trey Lance. I'm so happy. Trey Lance isn't the best prospect, but he has a massive, almost non-existent ceiling. So I'm
Yeah.
absolutely in love with this pick. And I think Trey Lance couldn't have gone to a better situation.
No, no, no. I also actually want to go back to that narrative you said, because I agree with it to an extent, because a lot of people, right, they thought that Mac Jones was the scheme fit, but
Yeah.
that's not true. They evolved. The fact that they traded up for Trey Lance is how they evolved, right? They openly decided, okay, we're going to upgrade the quarterback position with a mobile, physical phenom of a prospect,
Oh,
and
yeah.
that's how we're going to evolve. But in terms of raw scheme fit, Trey Lance was always the guy. That's why I believe that he was the pick from the get go. He's passing out I form and single back, running bootlegs. I mean, it was clear as day that he was going to be the pick if you go down into the film. But what's really interesting is how they kept that secret. I mean, wow, this last month has been miserable. I mean,
Yeah.
it's been truly miserable for
Not
us
a
as Niners.
not a day has gone by where I just wasn't stressed out of my mind thinking about this pick.
Yeah. And when we say we let a professional sports team dictate our happiness, we mean that. I couldn't watch sports talk, national sports talk media on YouTube or on TV for the last, I don't know, 3 weeks. Once the Mac Jones stuff really was completely national commonplace. I mean, everyone was saying Mac Jones to SF. I can't listen to that all the time.
No.
I go to Undisputed. I can't listen to that. I go to First Take. I can't listen to that. And then Colin Cowherd also. I can't listen to that. You can't. Like, it was incredible how the media embraced Mac Jones. I just couldn't believe it. And guess what? He ended up falling to 15. Why? Because no one wanted him. No one wanted him. There was nothing about Mac Jones that deserved, in my opinion, even a first round pick. But there was a shortage of quarterbacks this year, which makes sense. But come on, he can't even outrun a simple D tackle or like a 3 technique D end in a 3-4 scheme, who's practically a D tackle. Okay, on a bootleg, like, that's just basic stuff. Even Jimmy can do that. Okay, Mac Jones is not Jimmy. Okay, he wouldn't have come in and been Jimmy, right? He is a physical downgrade from Jimmy G, a physical downgrade. And as I'm sure all of you have seen, the last 3 years have been just miserable. Watching him, once the pocket completely collapses, it's over. If Jimmy has to escape the pocket, it gets ugly fast. Okay. Watching Jimmy make throws on the run, it's iffy. And it just, no. Trey Lance was the pick. I'm so happy that he was the pick. I mean, it's just awesome knowing that that this front office is serious. Like, they are not only completely sealed, they are completely sealed, but also they're not as egotistical as we all thought they were. Like, we all thought Kyle Shanahan was some sort of psychomaniac, right? I mean, I'm sure everyone's heard this. Oh, Kyle Shanahan thinks he's the best. He's going to pick his scheme over the player. This and that. But no, they were willing to evolve. They were willing to move up and take that chance on not Kirk Cousins with the DUI. And by the way, he is less physically gifted than Kirk Cousins. I am talking about Mac Jones, Macaroni Jones. Yes, I am. Okay. But Trey Lance it's just perfect. this is amazing. This is the best thing ever. And I'm serious when I say this. If you watch the film, Trey Lance is a day one starter in this specific scheme. Now, if he beats out Jimmy G, that's yet to be determined, but
Right.
he can. He definitely can. What would you like to see the Niners do with Jimmy G, though, based on this pick?
Well, I was actually going to talk about Jimmy G anyway.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
get to what I was going to talk about Jimmy G, but Jimmy, see, I like Lance. I agree with you that he could be a day one starter. It's just up to Shanahan. We're definitely. I don't think that Jimmy's gonna get traded immediately. I don't think he's gonna get traded this weekend. I think we're gonna at least have to wait until like after OTAs or until Shanahan can see Jimmy and Trey Lance compete up close and personal to like see like, okay, I'm comfortable going into the season with Trey Lance. And personally, I mean, obviously I would like to roll with Trey Lance because I think a rookie quarterback contract is the most valuable thing in all of football. But I would like to see Jimmy at least into training camp. I would like to see him on the roster into training camp. And I don't think they want to trade him. I think Kyle Shanahan said that they don't want to trade him and it would be a disappointment if they had to trade him. But I'll say this, if they get a trade package that's just unbelievable and they can't turn it down, which I don't think they will at this point. I don't know who would offer that because clearly New England already took Mac Jones.
The Bears took Justin Fields, which is potentially the steal of the draft. We'll get into that later. Oh
yeah.
my God. Yeah.
We'll talk about that. But who would Washington? Maybe.
Yeah, that's the only team. The Saints are kind of sneaky, in my opinion. I don't trust Jameis. I think Taysom is there as a rotational quarterback, but they would have to give up something and then have to renegotiate a contract and yada, yada, yada. I thought that the perfect situation was Jimmy, and then the perfect trade was Jimmy for a 3 and Stephon Gilmore, which was a double, like a win-win for both parties in terms of cap offloading. But obviously that's not going to happen because
there's no chance now. But what could the Niners get from New Orleans or something? Like, obviously, they're not going to trade Michael Thomas. They're not going to trade Cam Jordan, Alvin Kamara. Obviously, those guys are off limits. But like,
is Michael Thomas off limits?
I mean, maybe not. But would you trade for him with his contract?
No. I wouldn't. I would not.
No,
that contract, that personality. Slant Boy can stay over there, even though I don't think he had a great season.
Yeah, I like Michael Thomas too.
Oh yeah, but that I do not respect, like kind of that Antonio Brown. I'm better than every player in the league, and I am going to back that up with my mouth as opposed to my play. I don't like that so much, so I wouldn't, and I don't think the Niners do either. I mean, they could have had Antonio Brown a couple of years ago, and they said no. Turns out that was a very, 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 very good decision. So I would. No, I wouldn't trade for Michael Thomas. No, I wouldn't. But there are some assets that I think they could give up. It's just the problem is they've stripped their roster down so badly. I mean, Washington's kind of up and coming. They're young. They have a bridge quarterback.
I have an idea of who Washington could get, or who we could get from Washington. Brandon Sheriff. He's on they franchise tagged him like 2 years in a row. Obviously, he's an elite guard, and they want to keep him. But I mean, Brandon Sheriff.
Let me see how much he would cost. I mean, obviously,
keep in mind we're taking Jimmy's contract off the books, and we're gonna have a rookie contract, so we're gonna have a lot of cap space. At least more. So
that's true. But he's only 29. I thought he was older.
No, he ain't no Alex Mack or anything.
Yeah. Oh, God, not many are. I would prefer like a Kendall Fuller or one of their corners.
Obviously, this is depending on what happens tomorrow because Asante Samuel Jr. is still on the board.
Let's get into the players that are still available. I thought that 2020's draft with the 2020's second round was loaded. I mean, there was Trayvon Diggs there and Laviska Shenault. There were a ton of
T.
wide
Higgins went
receivers.
first.
T.
Like
Higgins.
there was a run on wide receivers early. I remember Michael Pittman Jr. went early.
Yeah.
I remember obviously T. Higgins. Who else? That wide receiver class was loaded.
I mean,
Like
I'm
this
pretty
one
sure.
was loaded. The last one. Like last
Yeah.
year was the year of the wide receiver. And
Oh,
a lot
yeah.
of people said Brandon Ayuk would fall into the second round. Like he was on, at least like in mock drafts that I read last year, he was on really nobody's radar.
Oh, yeah. No, he wasn't. I think the only there was only one mock that I saw that with us taking Ayuk, and I'm pretty sure that was from Steve Smith. Obviously, I didn't put much faith into that mock, and it was pretty early. But I think the most interesting thing up to me about Brandon Ayuk was that he was a pure he was a route runner first, which is a little bit different from Kyle Shanahan because he's really hard to, his taste in wide receivers is really hard to gauge. He likes like the baseline seems to be.
It's almost like non-existent. He just like likes a certain receiver.
Yeah, it's almost like that. I mean, with quarterback, I think I figured it out. But with a wide receiver, it's hard. It's really hard. They would have taken CeeDee Lamb if Kinlaw wasn't there, but CeeDee Lamb and Ayuk are
not
pretty
very similar.
No, not really. I mean, they both break tackles, but I mean, Ayuk's faster. CD is more of a contested catch player. Ayuk has special teams potential, or at least more of it, and more like versatility. And they aren't really similar. Yeah, they really aren't. And then Debo, comparing Ayuk to Debo is not. I mean, I tried doing that when we first got Ayuk. I was just, oh yeah, we can shoot this guy on an end around. But no, Debo is built like a running back, who plays out wide.
Yeah,
Ayuk. Yeah, Ayuk is very much so a wide receiver. I mean, he's spectacular.
Very athletic, and he's got that flash. He's got like kind of that wide receiver swag. Yeah, like that like star wide receiver swag. I almost want to say.
Mm-hmm. So obviously, if y'all saw the mock draft video, I thought that Kadarius Toney was that type of player. Kyle Shanahan's type of guy. Yeah, he breaks tackles, but of course, the New York Giants, who are already stacked at wide receiver with Kenny Golladay, they got Sterling Shepard, they got oh man, I always forget this one guy's name, but they have this really underrated wide receiver 3, who's quite frankly their wide receiver 2.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Sterling I know. He's 86. Man. Darius Slayton, I always forget his name.
Slayton, I almost wanted to say, what's that tight end they have?
Oh, Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram's good when he doesn't have butter hands. But unfortunately, he tends to have hands that are made of butter or brick. But
the
man,
Giants have a sneaky good just sneaky good weapons right now. And obviously, we don't want to talk about the Giants too much, but like, yeah, seriously, like Sterling Shepard, Evan Ingram, Kenny Golladay, now Kadarius Toney, obviously Saquon Barkley. There's no
Kyle Rudolph too. I mean,
they got Kyle Rudolph.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously he's Rudolph,
but you want to talk about traditional blocking tight end who's a red zone threat? That's Kyle Rudolph. I mean, he makes 5 catches every year in the red zone with like one-handed juggling touchdowns. I mean, Daniel Jones is they really want to make sure he's set up for success. But anyways, going back to the wide receivers that are available, I still believe, based on my mock, that the Niners are going to take a wide receiver in the second round. And there are 2 in particular that I could understand us taking. Both are kind of slot guys. One is a receiver with breakaway speed, but not necessarily spin, but absolutely a route technician. He is fantastic like that. I could see, us running play actions with Ayuk on a streak, faking the end around to Debo and throwing a post to Elijah Moore. That would be my ideal pick right now at wide receiver. But there's also a contested catch wideout, Nico Collins. That's your type of guy, big, throw it up. Watch him just manhandle some small corner and just dunk on them,
Where do you go to school?
50 yards down the field. Nico Collins from Michigan. I'm not sure if he played in 2020, but he's like Debo, where the quarterback play wasn't that great. So his college stats really aren't that good. They're like sub 1,000 yards as a wideout, which is
So like Jordan Matthews, basically.
Yeah, kind of. Debo didn't have that many receiving yards either. It's that sort of thing. It's just mostly when they get the ball or when they get open or when they get their opportunity, do they take advantage of it? That sort of thing. And here's I wouldn't be surprised if we took him, but he is the forbidden fruit, and that's Rondale Moore. Okay, remember how I talked about Kadarius Toney?
Right.
Rondale Moore. What?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Rondale Moore is faster than Kadarius Toney. Okay. He's a better route runner than Kadarius Toney. And he's just a better Kadarius Toney. He's got the same break tackle ability as Kadarius Toney. Why is he the forbidden fruit? Injuries. And what is this team most plagued by? Injuries. You cannot take, and I hope that Kyle Shanahan does not do this, because this is his, this is like the perfect, in terms of raw talent, player for what Kyle Shanahan loves doing right now. As of right now, I'm sure he'll adjust it based on Trey Lance's abilities and whatnot. But this dude is the forbidden fruit. He's been injured 2 years in a row. When he's on the field, great. Ability is the best. Availability is the best ability. You cannot take Rondale Moore in the top 50 picks. I will not respect them if they do that. I no.
Right. So we're taking Rondale Moore.
so we're gonna take Rondale Moore. I've mentally prepared myself for this, and we're gonna do it by passing up all these other incredible players. I'm gonna list off the defensive players right now. They are insane. Oh my God. We have Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah.
Yeah.
Koramoah. Whoops. JOK was supposed to go in the teens of the first round. I have no idea why this dude fell. He is a ball hawk. He's just an incredible linebacker. Nick Bolton. This dude, I really like Nick Bolton out of I think it's Mizzou. I don't know how to say that college name, but
I think it's just Mizzou.
Mizzou. Whoops. Yeah, he's really good. He reminds me a lot of kind of, don't want to say this because this is high praise, but he kind of reminds me of Navarro Bowman. Like, just
really.
Yeah, kind of like a hitter, but still has a lot of command over the defense and his own abilities. I like him a lot. I'm not too positive about his coverage stats, but in terms of raw hitting, he's good. I like him a lot. Asante Samuel Jr., I mentioned him in the previous video. We both love him.
I want him bad. I cannot believe Green Bay took who over him? Who'd they take?
Green Bay. They took Eric Stokes.
Yeah, what? Like, as if Aaron Rodgers wasn't already livid enough with your team.
Yeah.
Not only do you pass on Elijah Moore, but you also take a cornerback who's, at least in my opinion, not even the best cornerback that was available. I love Asante Samuel Jr. His stock was getting pumped up a lot in the past few weeks, and now he fell to day 2 at least. Obviously, he's going to get taken on day 2, and I think the Niners absolutely should. I think they should trade up if they can.
Oh,
but, yeah. Man, I don't know. I thought he was for sure going to get taken. Yeah. Asante Samuel Jr., if he's there, or if the Niners can trade up, cornerback is a huge need. It's probably the biggest need on the team right now.
Oh, it is. Oh my, yes, it absolutely is. The reason why I'm listing off, some of these other linebackers and other defensive players, and is mostly because we hold Asante Samuel Jr. in this really high regard. I
Mhm.
can't
It's not
see
just
like
because his dad was obviously Asante Samuel Jr. He's a very, very talented player.
oh yeah, yeah. Well, Asante Samuel Jr. is, I mean, Asante Samuel, like the OG Asante Samuel,
Incredible. He was a
is
star.
oh yeah, he's probably going to make the Hall of Fame one day. Um, Asante Samuel Jr. reminds us both of his dad, and that's not just lazy daisy, praise. He's
Mhm.
actually very good. His twitch is insane. It's special. It's what you would expect. Like that is hereditary, right?
Mhm.
Um, I don't see how he falls to 43. And also based on this team's draft history, Trey Lance did change that a little bit with us trading up that high to secure upside. But based on this team's draft history, the highest pick that we've spent on a corner was a third rounder on Ahkello Witherspoon. So I'm not too convinced that even with Asante Samuel Jr. potentially being there, which I do not expect to happen, I can't see how they'll do that. I just can't. I just based on their history.
How can you
I
pass
think that
on him? How
I
can
think
you
that wide
pass him
receiver
up
is good.
when it's such a huge position of need? I mean,
Mhm.
what are you going to do? Re-sign Richard Sherman? You're not getting 2013 Richard Sherman.
you,
No,
you said that
because
like that's not beyond them. Like Richard
no,
Sherman
I
is
think
just
it's
sitting there
possible. I think it's very possible they bring back Richard Sherman. But I mean, you can absolutely not count on Jason Verrett. You can
Mhm.
absolutely not. And obviously, yeah, Jason Verrett played all of last season. It was fantastic,
Not
but
all of it.
that was
People forget he was injured
yeah,
at the beginning.
yeah, but it was an anomaly. I mean that last season, it was a complete anomaly. He's been injured for like the 4 seasons prior to that. And obviously when he's on the field, he's great. But I mean, you really want to, and we've mentioned this before, but you really want to put 5'10" Jason Verrett up against 6'1" DeAndre Hopkins and 6'4" DK Metcalf? No, it's
Mhm.
not. No, you just can't do that. And I mean, Asante Samuel Jr. obviously he's not the biggest guy, but he's got ball skills and he's
Mhm.
freaking talented. He's mega talented. And I would trust him and obviously his resume a lot more than any other wide receiver on the team,
Mhm.
probably. And obviously, yeah, he hasn't played in the NFL yet, so we don't know. But I mean, secondary is just it is too much of a question mark. I don't see how they can continue to neglect this. I just it boggles my mind how they have not invested more resources into it. I mean, Ahkello Witherspoon, you drafted Tim Harris, you drafted Tavarius Moore, DJ Reed.
Mhm.
No, you gotta spend somewhat of a premium pick on a premier corner.
Yeah, and I think I Asante Samuel Jr. is no bigger than Jason Verrett, but I feel better about not having to have our best corner, travel with him all the time. DK Metcalf is kind of the anomaly, but he's still an anomaly we have to face 2 times a year. Okay. Jason Verrett looked small against um, DeAndre Hopkins, and DeAndre Hopkins is only 6'1". Now he did, lock him down. D Hop is
Yeah.
incredible. Brett is also incredible when healthy. But man, DK ran free on us. I mean, it
Oh
was
yeah.
it was
That
ugly.
first Seattle game, especially.
Yeah.
Especially.
And the reason why is because they realized that they couldn't really run man against DK and Tyler Lockett, which I respect. So they were running a lot of zone. And that just leaves your best corner on one side. And I feel like if we upgrade it, right, even though Asante Samuel Jr. is also small-ish no, they're small for the corner position. You at
Yeah.
least have two better, say better corners with ball skills to be able to combat that potential, receiving threat in DK Metcalf. So I would take him. I understand that it doesn't exactly solve the DK Metcalf problem, right? Straight up, but it definitely reduces the risk for other options at the very, very least. on the opposing offense. Another interesting secondary option that's available that he's probably going to be taken really early, like I think Asante Samuel Jr. will be, but that's Trevon Moehrig, safety out of TCU. I can't believe he's available. I know I've been saying that about a few people, but that's because they're high on my boards.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of talent slipped past the first round. I mean,
Yeah,
there was a couple reaches, and I would consider Mac Jones a reach too. Not to, I never want to say Mac Jones' name again, so we're just gonna.
Yeah, we're on to better days in the Trey area. That was bad.
No, I mean E40 said that, so I mean I think you're good.
Yeah, if E40 says something, it's kind of code in the Bay Area.
People like take his whatever he says for gospel.
Yeah, that's code out here. But although I'm really high on Asante Samuel Jr., and clearly you are too, the perception around this guy, this safety out of TCU, was that he was the best. Okay. And the best at every position is pretty much always a first rounder, except for maybe last year's tight end group with Cole Kmet going in the second. I thought that the league was way higher on just it. He's not even a bad safety prospect. Like he's not like Cole Kmet, where Cole Kmet was a second round prospect, kind of iffy. No, this guy was supposed to be a first round pick, like a mid to late first round pick.
Wow.
Tackling is great. I mean, I'm always a fan of taking a safety, and I think if the right thing to do is to upgrade the secondary potentially if one of those two guys are available. But what we're going to end up doing is we're probably going to take advantage of the two defensive linemen that are there, which is
your defensive linemen. They just love it. And I think defensive line is important, but I mean, you cannot. I mean, we saw it in the Super Bowl that you lost. I mean, defensive line was dominant, but what was obviously other than Jimmy, what was the demise? Blown coverage. Tyreek Hill burns the hell out of
Manuel Mosley.
That's right. And
Sherman looked bad too.
I mean, we've talked about Sherman. Sherman's not Sherman anymore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in that season, he was 2019. He looked like old Sherman.
Yeah, he was good, but I think a lot of his good benefit was because of the elite defensive line.
That's fair.
Yeah,
I mean,
he was good. I'm not discrediting him, especially in the playoffs. I mean, he had 2 interceptions in the playoffs.
Yeah, he was still the elite.
And yeah, he was good. He was good. And I'm not saying I dislike Richard Sherman or anything, but I mean, he's what, 33 now? He's 33, something like that.
Yeah.
No, I mean, cornerbacks, when they like fall off, they fall off. I mean, Darrelle Revis, you remember his fall off? He fell off a cliff. Like when he fell off, he was retired in like a year. Like, it's just cornerbacks, they don't have the shelf life, obviously, of a cornerback or a quarterback or an offensive lineman. I mean, that's a very athletic position to play. So
yeah,
you just can't.
I completely agree with you. I feel like secondary period, like not just cornerback, but secondary period is a huge need. But
it's a lot of injury history there.
Oh yeah, a lot.
Hart, Ward, Verrett. Manuel Mosley is probably the most in terms of health, is probably the most reliable player we have in the secondary, at least as a starter. Williams, huge injury. Yeah.
You can't trust any of these secondary guys. I mean, I guess you could trust Jimmy Ward to play a majority of the games, but I mean, other than that, Tart is not even a guarantee to play half of the games anymore. K1 is a very similar story. I personally, I think Eric Davis said it best. The legendary cornerback for the Niners. He was played a long time ago, but he said it. he essentially said this when asked about, the 49ers draft philosophy and why they take, defensive line over corner. He said, you can't teach humans to be that, built like that. Like you can't teach any D tackle to be built like DeForest Buckner. You can't teach any
No,
defensive end to be built like Nick Bosa. You just can't. But you can teach Emmanuel Mosley to cover a tight end in a, curl flat.
I agree with that.
Yeah. But that does not mean that you have to neglect the position entirely like they have. I mean,
Right.
it's incredible. If Jason Verrett didn't, get healthy,
Mm-hmm.
we
It would
were
have been a
looking.
mess, an absolute mess.
Oh
I
yeah, we
still
had
think,
for Brian Allen.
yeah, I still think it's a mess, but it would have been an even bigger mess, obviously.
Yeah, which leads me to who I think the Niners are going to take if available, and that's Christian Barmore. Or wait, well, not. I don't think they'll take him, but I think they would take him over secondary players, which sucks. I still think they're going wide receiver, but Christian Barmore, defensive tackle. He's the #1 defensive tackle in the draft. Yay! Like
Ooh,
we need another one. Um, and here's an actual. I actually am interested by this guy though, Azeez Ojulari.
I've heard of him.
Yeah, he's actually pretty special, and then as just a raw pass rushing talent with the ability, with the frame to be able to drop into coverage. That's interesting. I like that, but I just think there are too many. The wide receiver group is good enough. I think they're going to end up with both, at least one of those two D linemen, one of the wide receivers I mentioned, and one of the secondary players that I mentioned that are going to be available at 43. I don't think this team's going to trade up. I think they're going to take it. They're going to take full advantage of all the picks that they have. If anything, they'll trade down, or maybe they'll trade up in the late rounds, but I don't see that. I, I'm really concerned with this pick because this pick has to contribute earlier than Trey Lance does, because we have Jimmy. So until they trade him, Jimmy is going to be the starter, or unless Trey Lance beats him out in camp. We need a starter at multiple other positions. This rookie is going to have to start. If we draft a wide receiver, he's going to be wide receiver 3, day 1. And if we draft a corner,
Most likely,
he's going to be
depending on
corner
what
2.
happens with Hurd.
Well,
Obviously, we can't count on him, but I
yeah.
mean, if he shows up and he balls out and he stays healthy, then I mean, we'll see. It depends on who they draft, but I still am one of the few Hurd believers out there.
I believe in Hurd too, but I'm just
Can't count on him. You just cannot count on him.
you can't.
And I would not fault the Niners. I mean, I wanted the Niners, if he fell to them, obviously he didn't because he got drafted. I wanted them to draft Rashad Bateman. I liked Rashad Bateman a lot. They still could draft Elijah Moore. Yeah, I think it's very possible that they go wide receiver here.
because history says it. History says that they will. I
They
mean,
take
they've
wide receiver
drafted.
high. At least in
Yeah,
the past, 3-4 drafts, something like that. They drafted
yeah.
Pettis, they drafted Debo, both in the second round, and they drafted obviously Ayuk in the first round. So it would not shock me in the slightest.
Yeah, and Hurd in the third.
Right.
They absolutely. I mean, I think they will go wide receiver, and for good reason. I mean, a wide receiver 3 is a huge question mark. In Debo's history, health, injury history is
Mhm.
also a concern. A wide receiver 3 is really important, and I personally think that getting a wide receiver who A is healthier than Debo, and also B can probably excel at doing Debo stuff while also being a better route runner than him. You're never gonna find another Debo that can do the versatile stuff that he does. No one's gonna want to run an end around towards the side of the strong safety. No one's gonna want to do that. But if you can give Ayuk a end around every now and then, that's fine. But you're not. I don't think that finding a Debo replacement who's going to be running 3 end arounds every game is exactly ideal. I think what they need to do is draft a wide receiver who can run routes like Ayuk, maybe do some of that gadget stuff on the side, but you now have Trey Lance. I mean,
Yeah.
how much more gadget stuff do you need? I think a simple
They
RPO with a
always bring
bubble
back
screen,
Jerick McKinnon.
or they could bring back Jerick McKinnon to run the Wildcat on 3rd and 5.
Yes,
Exactly.
sir. That worked out very well for us last year.
Exactly. I mean, it makes perfect sense for the team, for the future of the team. The dude has like 86 speed in Madden at this point in his career for a running back.
He's not even
Speaks
going to be in
volumes.
Madden because he's not on a team.
That you make a good point.
Seriously. Seriously, good
Yeah.
luck. I mean, I'm not one to hate on Jerick McKinnon or anything. I did not like the signing at the time though, but I just no.
I didn't
Jerick
either. I
McKinnon
thought,
was a colossal failure of a signing. No disrespect to Jerick McKinnon. It was just a failure of a signing. That entire 2018 offseason was kind of just awful, in my opinion.
oh yeah.
Weston Richburg signed, Jerick McKinnon, McGlinchey drafted, Dante Pez. The only good thing that came out of that was Fred Warner.
Oh yeah, I keep forgetting.
And Richard
Fred
Sherman.
Warner was
Richard
awesome.
Sherman.
Richard Sherman was also key. I'm trying to think. We had a third. Quan
Quan was the year after.
was the year after.
He was 2019.
Oh,
Yeah, I remember.
Who
He was
was
the first.
who was the third big signing in 2018?
Was there?
I could have sworn there was. There was a third big signing in
Well, I
2020.
know it was Richard Sherman. It was Jerick McKinnon. It was Weston Richburg. Those were the big three.
Yeah.
Unless
Maybe
you're
I'm
thinking of, I don't know. We didn't sign a receiver. I mean, we signed Jordan Matthews. Jason Verrett we signed.
Oh, I think Jason Verrett was. I mean,
Yeah,
not Jason.
That was the first year we brought Jason Verrett in.
It might have been Jordan Matthews. That might have been the big, because he still had potential at the time.
Yeah, he was coming from what he was. He obviously played the majority of his. He had the majority of his career with Philadelphia, and then he went to like Buffalo for a year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was not, and he played for the Pats, I think, too, and he wasn't good for either. But still, he had potential at the time, and that did not work out. They had Jeremiah.
Yeah, I remember he didn't even make it out of training camp.
Yeah, but he was.
Or no,
he
he
was,
made it out of training camp. He got cut when the final roster cuts came out.
Yeah, he was given a pretty good deal too. He was like 1 year, $5 million. So
I remember. Oh yeah, Jonathan Cooper, another one. I think. I don't know. I could be getting my years mixed up. I probably am. Jonathan Cooper, I remember because I remember those two filled big holes because our pass rush was awful. It was awful. Our premier edge rusher that at that point was Cassius Marsh. Cassius Marsh. I remember.
Yeah, that was bad. We also, I mean, Defoe did a lot for us for a long time.
Defoe was fantastic. He carried that defensive line in 2018.
Dude, I'm looking at this 2018 draft class. We really of the Niners, we really missed. Like,
who was in that class? It was Lynchy. It was Pettis. It was Contavious Street. It was DJ Reed, who eventually became good. Tervius Moore, and obviously Fred Warner. Who else?
Harris.
Richie
James, Marcel Harris, Julian Taylor. The only impact player I see here that for the Niners at least is Richie James. I mean, Contavious Street is a rotational defensive.
Obviously, Fred Warner.
Besides Fred Warner. Yeah. It's like the 2017 draft. We had George Kittle and then
George Kittle and then Fred Warner. Yeah, DJ.
Wow.
Didn't have a Reuben Foster in that class, though. Although Dante Pettis obviously wasn't like Reuben Foster, but kind of was in a way. Just kind of like the talented flame out. Obviously, Dante Pettis didn't get arrested for domestic violence multiple times, but he just kind of lost all confidence in himself.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Any last little draft nuggets before we cut this one off?
No, I'm good. I'm just really happy to have gotten the Trey Lance pick right. And I hope that we make a really good pick tomorrow, regardless of whether or not it's a wide receiver. I
Yeah.
think if we can just draft a secondary player, or even if we get a top, 20 prospect linebacker who can contribute day one, I'm okay with it. So
Yeah.
I
I
think there's a lot of potential.
To conclude, I love the pick. I love the Trey Lance pick. I think if anybody is going to get the absolute most out of Trey Lance, it's Kyle Shanahan. Also, a little Jimmy Garoppolo nugget that I couldn't mention earlier. I love the fact that Jimmy Garoppolo asked for his number, asked
Yeah.
for Trey Lance's phone number. I think that speaks volumes as to the culture that they're building in San
Mhm.
Francisco, or they've already built. I mean, it is a team. It's truly a team, and it feels like it's you don't feel like you don't get the sense that they're players that are only in it for themselves or whatever. It's truly a team, and they work as a team, and they look out for each other. I mean, Trey Lance is literally coming to take his job,
Yeah.
and Jimmy is still trying to be like as helpful as he
A
can.
good
I mean,
teammate.
that's fantastic. So uh yeah.
Yeah. We'll see what tomorrow brings.